Hi there. Property in Glasgow and central Scotland requires more of an effort to either sell or buy these days. Since the credit crunch started about a year ago, the property market here has went into a kind of slowdown as the wholesale money markets try to regain their financial equilibrium. Down at the high street level, there's been a squeeze on the availability of mortgage funds as a result, and this has translated into a kind of home-moving gridlock, with both property buyers and sellers not being able to move their lives forward. Some Glasgow and central Scotland properties are still being sold and bought, of course, but perhaps it's the case that getting movement in these instances might be being related to buyers being in a financial position to be able to put more of a deposit or equity stake into their purchase, thereby reducing the loan-to-value ratio for their mortgage proposal down to a level that's within the bank's new, more cautious criteria. Alternatively, sellers who are desperate to move could be lowering their expectations about how much they will get for their property in the current market, and as a result they could be letting their properties go at a bit of a bargain. Whatever the case, here at Property Glasgow we are well placed to help both property buyers and sellers in Glasgow and central Scotland get movement again. We want to help you to get out of the current property gridlock, whether you're selling or buying. And actually, we think we can help you to both buy your new home and sell your old home all at the same time. How could we do that? Well, the answer is quite simple really, and it has to do with more marketing. To illustrate, consider a man who goes fishing. If he goes fishing with a hook in the water with a worm on the end of it all day, he will have one chance of catching a fish all day. But if he were to, say, put 3 hooks in the water with worms on the end of them, he would now have 3 chances of catching a fish. It's similar with selling and buying property, especially these days. Here's another illustration that helps make the point. Nimbleness is perhaps the best antidote to gridlock. Now just think of Harry Houdini, the famous escape artist from the early part of the last century. Houdini's ability to get out of a constrained situation was legendary. With Harry Houdini, escapology as it was called, was at the same time an art form and a science. Houdini had perfected the ability to contort his body shape into whatever was necessary to implement the escape. And while it must have been very entertaining just on a kind of superficial level to watch him in action, his audiences would also have caught a glimpse of the depth of his having studied the subject. Anyone buying or selling property in the present economic circumstances has to be a bit like Harry Houdini in mindset. We have to be prepared to acquire somehow the nimbleness of a Houdini in dealing with property, and more marketing is the key. Let's say you would love to buy a particular property but haven't been able to get your old house sold, and so you're unable to make an offer on it or complete any offer that you have on the property, that property that you have your eye on. What could you do to get movement in these circumstances? Well, the answer is get Property Glasgow to market your property as well as continuing to market it through your mainstream estate agent. The sooner you do this, the sooner you'll find your buyer. We don't view ourselves as being in competition with the mainstream estate agents. Rather, we view ourselves as being supplementary to them. It's more baited hooks in the water, that's all. Figuratively speaking, We go fishing for property buyers in other parts of the ocean that aren't being fished hardly at all. Lucrative fishing grounds where the mainstream estate agents neither have the time nor inclination to go. And when you're on board with us at Property Glasgow as a client, we'll be asking you to suggest to the people viewing your property for sale to avail themselves also of the extra marketing services we provide. You've been able to help the people who have their eye on your existing property to be able to sell their own existing property has got to be a big factor in you acquiring more nimbleness. You've been able to help them get movement simply means helping yourself. And if you're in the position where you already have your new home purchased but don't yet have your old one sold, we can also help in these circumstances too with extra marketing to get your old place sold the sooner. Even where there's no great hurry on your part to sell your old property, perhaps where there's a very low mortgage balance or perhaps even no mortgage balance at all, we can help in these circumstances too. Selling sooner rather than later has to be a good idea. Apart from getting access to your capital more quickly, by having extra marketing, you actually create demand, and increased competition for your old place has to translate into a higher sale price. Becoming a landlord and letting out your old property with the intention of selling it when the market returns to its former glory is nothing like the quality of an option that it was a year ago or so, especially for the more expensively priced properties. You see, the yield, that is the annual rental take as a percentage of the value of your property, has never been so low. In fact, yields are so low in percentage terms as to be lower now than what someone would be paying in interest rate if they were to finance your property as a buy-to-let investment. This implies that being a landlord over your old property, by being a landlord over your own property, your old property, you would be effectively now subsidising your tenant's lifestyle. Do you really want to do that? There's no doubt about it. To increase your property's visibility to people out there with the ability to move is the only way to go. And if you can do something to surround yourself with property buyers and sellers with an ability to display nimbleness, you'll do even better. At Property Glasgow, we would like to hear from you if you have a property to sell. And if you have your eye on a property you'd like to buy but haven't been able to because of not having your existing property sold, we can help with that too, even if it's not one being marketed by ourselves. So give us a call without any obligation whatsoever. We'll be happy to discuss whatever it is you want to achieve with property and see what can be done to help you get out of the current gridlock and get you moving again. Thank you. Bye-bye.